that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports. It's a beautiful Monday morning. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. I want to invite you to get in on the conversation. Of course, you can always do that at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. It is open for business. And of course, you can always send your comments, your thoughts, your reactions, whatever may be going on. Hey, you may even have a question or two that you want us to address on the program. You can always post those in the chat. We are definitely excited to have you up and at it with us this morning as we prepare for a Monday edition of the program. You can also join the live stream each and every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Follow and subscribe on the live stream. Change the name on that to make it a little easier to remember and follow. Alabama Sports with Martin Houston on Facebook, and then of course Martin J. Houston 35 and Martin Houston 35 on YouTube and Facebook. Had a great show, great time this weekend, doing a little overtime, following up on the Alabama overtime win. We will talk about that a little bit today, as we'll have Kennington Smith III to join the conversation. We'll do a week one review of the DeBoer era. Man, really excited about what's happening there. As of course, I've just mentioned, Alabama with the win put themselves in a position to secure a double bye, number 2 seed, based on how things fell out, and it fell out the right way. So we'll talk about that. And we also got to hear from Nick Sheridan, offensive coordinator, on Friday. So we'll break down some of his thoughts and comments and what he had to say. There was an interview with Quindarius Robinson. He's not very talkative, but he had a couple things in there that we'll try to work into the conversation today or tomorrow as well, as Alabama takes some time off for spring break. And now they have a little segment called Fresh Off the Field. I thought that was a really, really good little segment there, talking to Malachi Moore. I'll play that in its entirety, but there are a couple clips that I want to break down. And there's something that we as Alabama fans have been asking for forever. Okay, we've been asking for it, Alabama fans. We've been begging for it. And I'm not sure if you all heard it or not, but Malachi Moore said something that I know that on my show, Alabama fans have said, why don't we do this? Why don't we just do this? Well, Malachi Moore said that they are already learning that and being taught that as well. Last week, we also heard from Lindquist, the defensive coordinator, and he said something about, they were asking him about the field corner versus the, guys playing both sides of the ball. And they're, at this point, they're taking the approach that they are going to make sure that everybody can play all the positions. Then they'll worry about bringing it down. So lots to get to. Jalen, Milroe, play calling, Caleb Odom, biggest objective, and a whole lot more right here on the Martin Houston Show. So glad you've chosen to be with us this morning. And if you want to get in once again on the conversation, you can do that two ways. One is the Alabama One hotline, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. It's open for business. Or you can always add your comments on the live chat, live stream. So Jed Cohen saying Alabama survived on Saturday. That's a good way to put it. I took a more positive spin. But remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone. You be the difference you want to see in the world today. I'm driving solo, so I need you to go ahead and jump in on the conversation and help me get through this fast-paced hour of Alabama sports with Martin Houston on the Martin Houston Show. So good morning, Justin. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing good.
Good. Well, Justin, my approach was that Alabama just didn't want the season to end on Saturday, and they gave us 5 extra minutes of basketball. So I talked to one of the coaches yesterday, and I said, "Thank you. We needed those extra 5 minutes." No, just seriously, that was a very interesting game. I did not get to see the beginning because I had something going on, but then I was able to catch a good majority of the game, and Alabama chased for the majority of the game. I think this is our 3rd time coming back from 14 or more points to win a game. But yeah, it was a very interesting game. Then did you go to the game and watch it on television?
I actually neither.
Okay.
I watched the overtime. I kind of was consigned after I saw a little bit into the first half there that we were not playing that well. So I was like, I'm not even gonna tune into this. And
wow.
Maybe that's why we came back. So
hey, well,
maybe.
you know what was funny for me? I asked on Facebook how many people caught themselves cheering for the wrong team or yelling at the wrong team Saturday, as Alabama did a Crimson out against Arkansas. It's kind of like this was probably not being funny, but probably the worst team to do that against. Because when I first turned the game on, I was doing something else when I first turned the game on, so I wasn't really fully tuned into the game. And before you know it, you're thinking Alabama's doing good because you see the team in the white, and you're not paying attention. And then you realize, no, that's adding to the wrong side. Let me pay attention to what's going on here. As Alabama did a Crimson out against Arkansas, whose colors in print are virtually the same many times as way it's produced. So several people are saying, yeah, I caught myself yelling a couple times at the wrong guy or yelling at the wrong side of the ball and wanting the wrong side to play good defense. So it was pretty funny experience considering, but love what NATO did. Like I said, it's the end of the year. Alabama fans, Justin, would you agree, are a little disappointed with the way the season ended?
I think so, but that's just the nature of Alabama fans. I feel like we expect a lot from our teams, and they still have a chance to go into the tournament here and make a run.
Yeah, what's crazy to me is that there's not a single Alabama fan that would not have taken this if they could have just skipped the regular season and been at this point in March. If you had said, okay, you can play out the season and take its results, or you can take the results of Alabama having a double bye going into the SEC tournament, there's not a single fan, not one fan that I know of. If you're out there, if there's anybody out there that thought this team would end up where it did, I need you to call me up and tell me about it. So you have a mic. you have a mic to call up and tell me that you saw this coming, then I'm gonna tell you you're not a truthful person, and that you're not being honest. So, but but anyway, Justin, no one would have turned down this performance, this result at the beginning of the season. So sometimes hindsight, in the words of Coach Dye, hindsight is 50-50. And those of you who don't know, I know exactly what I'm saying. You have to go back and hear that audio. But all of us as Bama fans would have taken this result at the beginning. So instead of being down on this team, let's be hyped and excited about this team making Alabama basketball relevant in March. I mean, we're relevant. I mean, that's where you start. You can't get to a championship. You can't get to the playoffs without, a deep run into the tournament until you get in the tournament. And Nate Oates has managed to do that in the last few years. And maybe, just maybe, the key to this team continuing step back on the court on Saturday. I'm of the mindset that Reitzel is a difference maker. Duke can flat out play and is a difference maker. The coach I was speaking with yesterday actually said he's the X factor. He's the X factor. Let's see what Alan has to say. Alan, you're in on the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Once again, I'm gonna go back to what I always say. If you let Nelson play the whole half, he'll foul out. He will half if you let him play. But Bama, I think they played pretty good.
Hey, hold on 1 second. Alan, hold on 1 second, though. He got in foul trouble, but he was huge down the stretch playing with 4 fouls. I just waiting on it to happen.
You know why he gets in foul trouble? He has no footwork. I don't say no footwork. He doesn't have great footwork, and he finds himself out of position a lot of times. And when he gets out of position, he has a knack to overcompensate, and that puts him in foul trouble.
But
besides that,
you just nailed it. He's out of position. He's not a 5. He's the height of a 5, but he's not a 5 in the SEC. That's why
at the most he could be a
4.
3 or a 4, 3 or a 4.
Right.
He's definitely not a 5, and he's playing out of position.
That's right. So you're right. He doesn't have necessarily the best footwork and all that, but I think that's because he's played against guys in his past where his size, length, and athletic ability.
Exactly.
He was better than them, but now he's not better than these guys. So his technique and all that has to be better. What else you have for us?
Well, and also in the first half, Bama had a lot of good shots. They just weren't going down. They were hitting the rim, hitting the front of the rim, going halfway down and coming out. And they were, that's just the nature of the game. When you, like I said, when you shoot the 3, you win by it and you're gonna lose by it. And fortunate enough that we got enough going down in the second half that they were, that you can win by it. But they definitely had good shots. They were missing layups. Not because they were getting defense. It just happened. They just didn't go down. It wasn't nothing that they did. It was just they just simply was not going down. They were getting good shots and, like I said, going halfway down and coming back out. And that just happens, and that just simply happens a lot of times. And I still say right now, Nate Oates is one of the top 5 coaches in the United States. With the talent that he's got, he by far.
I saw people talking about bringing Mark Gottfried back and all of that. Man, if you still hating on Nate Oates after what this team has accomplished, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna let you hold, and we'll pick up this conversation because I don't want to short you because you're not finished. But I'm gonna say this, Alan and listeners, and I agree with Nate Oates. I said it before I heard Nate Oates say it Sunday. I said last week if we had Wrightsville, we may not be. I don't think we beat. I don't know if we necessarily beat Tennessee, but it's a different game, and I think that the Florida game was a result of the Wrightsville Tennessee lapse. I just think Alabama wins out if Wrightsville's there. They don't beat Kentucky because Wrightsville can't stop a guy from shooting 10 for 10. You know what I'm saying? But I just think he is clearly an X factor and a difference maker. We're going to bring Kennington Smith III into the conversation. Love to get your response, your thoughts. We're going to have some audio from offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan. We're going to have fresh off the field with Malachi Moore and the team there. That's going to be a little fun segment, some key things that were said in that way. So, hey, stay tuned for more conversation. You can get in on it at 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline, or you can join the conversation via chat.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We did have an early morning accident on southbound Skyland Boulevard just past the 2059 interchange. Did block a lane there briefly, but it's already cleared. All lanes open, no remaining impact there. You're moving along nicely if you're traveling along McFarland Boulevard from Coker, passing up Lurling Wallace across the river and down to the I-20 interchange. No major problems affecting that drive. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org.
Prices are falling at Townsend Nissan. Don't wait. Rates as low as 0%. Townsend Nissan, Tuscaloosa.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow trucks, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org, brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A sunny sky today, the high for this afternoon around 63. Cold again tonight, clear with the low at 35. Tomorrow and Wednesday, mostly sunny both days with a warming trend. The high tomorrow 70, the high Wednesday at 74 degrees. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 35 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Nick Davis, powered by MaX Sports. I'm driving solo today, so I need you to get in on the conversation on the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904, or you can post your thoughts and comments in chat. We'll be adding Kennington Smith III to the conversation here in just a moment. And then, of course, the craziness of the SEC, Alabama doing some good things there. Remember to check out my sponsors. Speaking of one of those sponsors, Billy's Cooking LLC. Go check them out on Facebook at Billy's Cooking Restaurant, or stop by their location in Hope on Wednesday through Sunday, open at 11 a.m. Wing Wednesday, Fish Friday, Soul Food Sunday, and of course the spring break, but students Saturday as well. So check them out and see what's happening there. Jed Cohen said he watched the game on TV and listened to the game on YouTube with Chris Stewart. So it's, I guess, kind of starting the Eli Gold tradition for basketball there, or doing the Eli Gold, watching the game on TV, but listening to Stewart. MHS 0407, good to have you back with us. Mark Sears should be the SEC MVP this year. He led the league in scoring and was the SEC most improved player. And then, of course, he highlighted Bandy's win Saturday. So lots of good things happening throughout. Allen is still holding, but we're going to bring Kennington in and then circle back with Allen as well. Good morning, Allen. Kennington. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. Getting some feedback. Kennington, when you look at what's happening with Alabama basketball, I told the fans, I said it before you came on, how many of them, if they would have had a choice of, hey, you can play out this season or take this team today, not one fan would have bypassed to have Alabama sitting as a double bye seed into the SEC tournament. Just how good a job, despite some disappointment, how good a job did Nate Oates do with this basketball team?
Yeah, fantastic job. Again, to lose 3 assistant coaches to Division I head coaching jobs, 75% of the roster, to come back and be able to be down to really the last week of the season for the SEC regular season championship, to have a double bye in the SEC tournament, back-to-back 20-win seasons, everything that the team was able to accomplish. You have to take that, every single time. Obviously, it was disappointing just in the fact that they didn't win the championship, but the fact that has become the standard of what Alabama men's basketball is says a lot. The disappointment in this season is that Alabama didn't win the championship. That is a testament in itself to Nate Oates. So, yeah, Alabama was picked. They were picked to finish 5th in the SEC. They finished a couple of spots above their preseason ranking. They definitely outperformed their expectations. And then just the fact of not only just a team, you look at the individual player development. Mark Sears was a revelation this year. What he was able to do with Aaron Estrada, Rylan Griffin took a step forward, I think. The fact that he was able to get Nick Pringle to go from, suspended player, troubled player on the team to playing, the best basketball of his career down the stretch. All of these things together, makes for a really impressive coaching job. So, yes, Alabama didn't win the championship, but it was still a really good team at the end of the day, and there's some potential for this team to, potentially make some noise in March, obviously, if they do the things that, and improve in the areas that have kind of troubled them this year. But overall, you have to give Nate Oates credit for the job that he's done.
And we'll bring Allen back into the conversation because I was asking Allen this question. I'll let him respond and let you respond as well, Kennington. Allen, you're back in on the Alabama One hotline. And the question is, does this team win? Does the likelihood of this team potentially holding on to that SEC lead and winning the SEC regular season go up tremendously with Reitzel? Because, as one of the coaches said, he is the X factor for this team, because it forces the other teams to play Alabama-style 4 guards versus 2 bigs, and then the traditional traditional personnel. Allen.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also think a big part of the whole thing was when you got Pringle's head back into the game. When he set Pringle down and showed him, I don't know what the issues was, but Pringle got his issues together. I think Pringle made a big statement. Coming off the bench or starting, whatever the case may be. Watson is good, but I'm a Nick Pringle fan because I'm fans of a big man. I'm fan. Yeah, I like the guy that goes to.
But that's my point, Allen, and Kennington. what would have happened if Pringle was playing this way and we had Reitzel? We've not had that combination for an entire game yet. We got it down the stretch Saturday, and this team walked Arkansas down. Down the stretch Saturday, after Alabama had played pretty bad, did not perform up to expectations, Kennington. Down the stretch, you had what I believe, could be what Alabama. Reitzel's playing well, Pringle's playing well, Grant played well with 4 fouls, but that's the only time we've seen that combination.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the whole thing. I like them all. I mean, like I said, and in there, if they would have played together, the whole basketball is about chemistry, and you got to have chemistry to keep playing. And they once they got that chemistry together, that's why you see these teams in the ACC. They're so good because a lot of them stay more than 1 year, and they have that chemistry. And if Bama get that chemistry down and get it into the tournament, I don't know if they'll go to the Final Four, but they're definitely Sweet 16.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Kennington? Thanks, Alan. Appreciate you, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something to that idea, especially just that Tennessee game was such a big moment in the season, and that was such an incredibly winnable game for Alabama. The defense was on point, but down the stretch, they just weren't able to string together enough offensive possessions. And you think to yourself, if you would have had Reitzel there from a ball handling standpoint, from a playmaking standpoint, and a shooting standpoint, what could have been in that game, which really kind of determined the final week in Alabama's season, because the game was propped up to be kind of like the de facto SEC championship game. That loss lingered a bit into the final week, and it kind of felt like even in the Arkansas game that Tennessee was going to beat Alabama 3 times. Yeah. Like they were going to beat them the first time, then the loss lingered into Florida, and it felt like it was going to linger into Arkansas. And if you had Reitzel in the game for Tennessee, maybe his presence could have pushed Alabama forward a little bit to swing that game into their favor. And maybe we're here talking about Alabama with 3 championships in 4 years. So what he's brought to the team has just been really underrated, I think, in terms of everything that we've talked about in this year. I believe Alabama's undefeated when he scores more than 10 points in a game. So he's a huge cog in what they've been able to do, but it seems like he's back. He was a big part of the Arkansas win, obviously, and to kind of have him back, feeling confident, playing confident, looking healthy going into postseason play is a major win for the program. So, the regular season, finish wasn't what Alabama fans wanted, but obviously what's ahead is more important than anything else.
Yeah, and I hate that we're not going to have, probably won't have Griffin potentially in the SEC tournament. That hurts and stings, but great to have Reitzel back. Pat, you're on the Alabama One hotline with Martin and Kennington. What's on your mind? Pat, you there? Pat. Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and get the break here. Coming back on the other side, we'll get Kennington's thoughts on Alabama and the SEC tournament, and then we'll switch over to some football. Kennington, going to get your thoughts on Alabama football week 1 under the DeBoer era. Rate it and tell me what you think about it. You're welcome to do that as the listeners as well. We'll be back in just a moment on the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports.
A healthy weight, more energy, and smooth, regular bowel movements. 3 things everyone strives for.
It's me, Chuck Norris. There's one really important thing we don't talk about enough: our health. Achy joints, digestive issues, weight gain, and fatigue. We're told these are normal signs of aging. So working with a team of health experts, we came up with Morning Kick.
Morning Kick is a revolutionary formula combining 10 different supplements in one. Probiotics that help you lose weight, prebiotics for digestion, superfoods for muscles and joints, and several of the most powerful powerful anti-aging supplements on earth. It'll help you feel youthful, energized, focused, and help manage stress.
Anybody can achieve great health regardless of their age.
Go to roundhouseprovisions.com. Use code SUPPORT or text SUPPORT to 511-511 and claim 40% off today.
Every purchase comes with our 90-day money-back guarantee.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511. Morning Kick. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
They influenced music for 3 generations. Kool and the Gang. Live.
What you gonna do? Get down on it. Come on and get down on it. If you really want it.
Kool and the Gang. Saturday, March 16th at Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center. Ride the rhythm of Kool and the Gang. Tickets on sale now at PearlRiverResort.com.
To thank you for 40 unforgettable years, Dell Technologies is celebrating with anniversary savings on their most popular tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 13 Plus, powered by Intel Core processors, and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
Hey, it's Boost Mobile here with a great deal to keep you connected and help you make the most of your tax refund. When you switch to Boost, you get 4 lines for $100 plus 4 free 5G smartphones like the Samsung Galaxy A15 5G or the Moto G Stylus 5G. We're here to bring you the best phones on America's largest 5G network so you can get after it. Switching is easy. Just head to your local Boost Mobile store for 4 lines and 4 phones for $100. New customers only. Requires ID verification. Select markets only. Other restrictions apply. See participating dealers for details.
This report is sponsored by Tire Rack. Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and his David, powered by MaX Sports. We have Kennington Smith, the third of the Athletic, on with us. You can follow him at SkinnyKenny _ on the X. Kennington, before we flip over and get a little feedback and conversation around this Alabama coaching staff and the DeBoer week one of his era. What are your overall thoughts on what this team is going to do as Alabama prepares to go into the SEC tournament?
Yeah, I feel confident in the team playing into the semifinal. I think it's going to be a tough matchup against Kentucky in that semifinal game, especially if Rylan Griffin doesn't play. It feels like Kentucky is just ascending right now. I think they're going to be kind of like that kind of like sexy team that people pick to make a deep run into the tournament. They're playing with a lot of momentum right now. I think that would be a pretty good barometer game for Alabama going into the tournament, just because, quite frankly, Alabama, their kind of theme of their season has been being able to play with the kind of those elite teams, but haven't been able to consistently beat those elite teams. So I think that would be a good benchmark game going into the tournament. So, it's kind of hard to take them to go any farther than that, especially if Rylan Griffin isn't going to play. But I think, they're going to get past, presumably, Florida in that quarterfinal game, playing to the semifinal. But I think more than anything, you want to see them commit to, playing on the defensive side of the ball, cutting down on turnovers, continuing to find good shots going into the tournament. And then at that point, you hope for good matchups along the way. But I think semifinals is probably as far as I see this team going. But they can play farther than that. Obviously, that's going to be a great momentum booster going into the NCAA.
Absolutely. But in Kentucky has managed to find what Alabama fans has been hoping Alabama could find, and that is defense. And this Kentucky team, I think they're second in the SEC to us in scoring. So that'll be a good, as you said, good matchup and good barometer. What's your overall thoughts? Week one, Kalen DeBoer era. I know you've only had, you've only had a fall season, but talking to people and being in the media and all of that, what are you sensing as far as the Alabama fans in this particular team?
Yeah, I think there's a sense of excitement among the fans. I think more than anything, I think getting to spring practice was such a huge milestone just for the fact of now we can focus on ball. Like we can focus solely on the 2024. We can kind of, it's like for so long, the conversation's been about, Nick Saban and the transfer portal and the roster and all these things. And now it can just be solely focused on football and talking about this team in particular and how much growth they can have and all the storylines within the team and not to worry about kind of, not to quote Nick Saban, but the external factors. So I think that was a big milestone. I think this week has gone really well, honestly. You kind of feel the excitement. You kind of feel the energy from the players. They talk about how much energy the coaches have. And then I think the biggest question for Kalen DeBoer coming in was the recruiting side of it. And Alabama has a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail. They were able to get a lot of recruits on campus. They got 2 commits in the last week from the 2025 class. So everything seems to be kind of trending in a positive direction. Obviously, that has to continue. But just, the early returns, it feels like there's some good energy around the program. And, it does feel good from a media perspective to be able to talk to more players and to talk to assistant coaches because there are good people inside the building and kind of being able to showcase that and display that I think is going to be positive for the program in the long run. So, good first week, and I'm excited to see what happens in the final few weeks.
Yeah, without a doubt. And whether this coaching staff is better than last year's coaching staff or as good as coaching staffs in the past, I don't know. But I can tell you because of the access and hearing from them, your confidence level when you hear these guys talk is through the roof. As a fan, as a former player, and as a person of the media, I kind of wear multiple hats. Kind of a unique position for me in terms of just the different things from the different perspectives, and it's really, really exciting. I'm gonna have a true false question coming that I think will get some people excited. But here's Coach Nick Sheridan. First question right off the bat, of course, and I'll play it, Kennington, and then let you respond to this audio from Coach Nick Sheridan.
Overall, first impressions, you got a quarterback that's returning. He's one of the top quarterbacks in college football, according to the Heisman voting and everything. How confident do you feel going in with number 4?
Very confident. He's an extremely talented kid. I think more than anything, he's just a great person. I've really enjoyed getting to know him, his family. Obviously, everybody knows the talent, the explosiveness as a passer. Obviously, he's very electric as a runner as well. But I've just enjoyed getting to know him as a person. What his history's been, what his journey has been. Just his journey. What has gotten him to this point. But if you ask me how confident I am, I'll tell you there's a lot of work to be done still as a group. Not just as a quarterback group, but as a whole offense. But the kid's a special player for sure and a special person. I've really enjoyed getting to know him and getting a chance to coach him. I feel very lucky.
All right, Kennington, I just tossed that up. And of course, he said all the right things, but when you hear that audio, react to what Coach Sheridan had to say about Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, I think it's just very consistent with what anybody who's been around him and you would, as a fan, have trust in their football opinion has said about Jalen Milroe, even going back to last season with Saban and the coaching staff and the players on the team. This is somebody who had the vote of confidence from Saban after the Ole Miss game. He helped lead Alabama to the college football playoff. He was voted permanent team captain, team MVP, most inspiring player, all of these things. helped keep the team together after Saban retired, has continued to, I think, ascend into a leadership position. And not just Sheridan, but if you were to go and listen to all the individual player interviews from that day, all of them said a similar thing to Sheridan. Like, Jalen Milroe is a leader. He's kind of galvanized the team. We're excited about what he can do. And that is kind of baked into the fact that he has to continue to earn it every day, but that's any player with a starting position at Alabama. That kind of goes without saying. Yes, he has to continue to improve. Yes, he has to continue holding on to his spot, but for what he is right now as a leader and a core player on the team, you have to feel very confident about what he can do within this offense and where he can potentially take the team. So I feel like fans should be excited about the potential of, Jalen Milroe within this offense. It's really about the parts around him and their kind of development as well, particularly on the offensive line to make the offense a cohesive unit. But not surprising to hear Nick Sheridan, back him publicly. Kalen DeBoer kind of did the same thing. And I think, them talking about not only him as a player, but as a person is really important because they needed a leader at a time when things were really uncertain when Saban retired, and they need a leader, for a team that lost a lot of leadership from last year and lost a lot of, key veterans from last year as well.
When you look at this after one statement from the OC, do you feel like this team will utilize that Jalen Milroe? I'm going to tell you, at no point last year, you said that they had confidence in him. At no point last year, I'm sorry, I take that back. One game last year where I felt like they had confidence in Jalen Milroe that translated to the field, and that was LSU. Other than that, last year, I feel like I was watching Jalen Hurts 2.0, restriction, limitations, etc. After hearing him talk once, hearing Kalen DeBoer, now he may not even win the job, right? But at least do you feel more confident that this team will maximize what he brings to the table?
Absolutely. I think, no disrespect to Tommy Rees and last year's offensive, staff, the kind of brain trust that put together the game plans. This is a significant upgrade, I think, in terms of X's and O's and game planning and being able to put players in positions to succeed. So I definitely think they're going to utilize Jalen a lot better. I definitely think that they're going to put him in better positions, and not just him, but just the entire offense. How many times did we talk about the quick pass game, screen passes, getting the ball to receivers in space, letting them kind of make plays? That was not a part of Alabama's offense really at all last season. So not just Milroe, but I think across the board, when you look at all the skill players, I think you feel confident about this staff's ability to kind of maximize everything around them. So high confidence in what Kalen DeBoer is going to be able to do. And it was kind of interesting. The offensive coordinator is going to be something that I think we talk about throughout the year, but somebody asked Kendrick Law about, Nick Sheridan being the offensive coordinator, and he was quick to say, well, first of all, this is Kalen DeBoer's offense. So that should give fans a lot of confidence that DeBoer is going to be very, very, very involved, not only in the quarterback room, but just in the offensive game planning. And if what he's done track record wise on all of his previous stops is any indication, then Alabama should have a really exciting.
It's funny. I've said this numerous times. Kalen DeBoer is to offense what Nick Saban was to defense. Nick Sheridan, I know people don't want to hear this, but they forget Kirby Smart was not Kirby Smart when he came to Tuscaloosa. As a matter of fact, Kirby Smart was not even Nick Sheridan. Okay? Kirby Smart was a young recruiting stud who was passionate and hardworking. Nick Sheridan may be the first time calling plays here, but Nick Sheridan has been in this offense 5 years. Let that sink in, guys. 5 years, and he called the plays 2 of those years. That's more advanced than Kirby Smart or any other coach that Nick Saban brought into his defensive system. And we always trusted Nick Saban because of what he had done defensively. Well, go back and research Kalen DeBoer and then find a guy like Sheridan who has 5 years in this system, and 2 of them where he was the play caller. So this is technically, because what did he say? What did everybody say? What did that interview you just referenced? This is Kalen DeBoer's offense. Well, it was Kalen DeBoer's offense at Indiana when he was a tight end coach. It was Kalen DeBoer's offense when he left, and Sheridan stayed behind and called the plays for 2 years. So I just want to point out, this is not a rookie. This is not a Tommy Rees level offensive coordinator, and it's not a new system for him. So coming back on the other side, I'm gonna get. He talked about a couple of their biggest goals, and I'm also gonna get your response on at least 2 things. Their biggest objective as a staff offensively, and the Caleb Odom move. We'll be back in just a moment to keep the conversation rolling. I want to remind you that you can be a part of what we do each and every day by supporting our great sponsors. Go to alabama1.org. That's alabama1.org. Great promotions going on there. Also, remember, membership has its advantages. And if you happen to be coming into town for softball, basketball, baseball, or just visiting any of the locations and you need cash, Alabama's Anytime Tellers are out there located throughout the state to help you with that. That's Alabama One together.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. The time change may mean an extra hour of daylight on the back end, but for you early morning folks, that means the darkness hangs around a little bit longer. The main thing, though, is we're underway for this Monday morning with no big accidents or breakdowns, no heavy backups to contend with either. A very quiet ride into and out of the area. That includes 2059 from Foster's out to Cottondale and 69 up from Hale County as well. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. Carly Russell's fake kidnapping case from last year will not be going to trial. Instead, she will attend a plea hearing on March 21st. Russell was convicted of false reporting to Hoover police and false reporting of a crime. She's expected to plead guilty. The case drew national attention. Click TuscaloosaThread.com throughout the day for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's absolutely free. I'm Don Hartley. Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Nearly 3,000 teen drivers die in car crashes each year. Tire Rack Street Survival is designed to save lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
Did you know that 90% of the lawyers you see or hear advertised aren't even in Alabama?
Just think about that. I used this guy, Stephen Mesrano, twice because he did what no other lawyers could do. He won for me, and he can win for you. Mez wins.
Thanks, guys. I'm attorney Stephen Mesrano, and I win. Call me, 205-800-8000, and let me fight for you. And when you call, you'll actually talk to me. 205-800-8000. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
Hey, Gabby. It's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi. I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m.
Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person 24/7. Now, how can I help?
Yeah, I used my Discover card to buy these yellow pleather pajamas, and I'm just not sure I'm pulling them off.
24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
Your best bet for big wins is just minutes away at Birmingham Racecourse Casino, where you can be a winner too. Off I-459, exit 31 Derby Parkway.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We have Kennington Smith III on with us. Kennington Smith III. Kennington, tell our listeners where they can find you, sir.
Yeah, on the X at Skinny Kenny _ SKINNYKENNY _ theathletic.com or The Athletic on the mobile app. Search Alabama football, Alabama basketball, really anything Alabama athletics, and you'll find me there.
Kennington, what you got coming up this week now?
Yeah, so Got a pretty in-depth piece coming on the offensive line today. Doing what have we learned from week 1 of spring practice notebook coming tomorrow. Pretty in-depth piece about both sides of the ball, and then just some more of my observations and thoughts on first week Alabama practice, and we're going to be looking ahead to the SEC tournament after that and kind of previewing that. But we're probably going to have some more football as well. So really exciting time to be a part of Alabama athletics, and really exciting time to kind of look ahead to what we're doing at the athletic.
All right. Let's get back to some more audio from Coach Nick Sheridan. Here's what he had to say about biggest objective for the spring.
I think number one, to install our systems, the scheme that's involved. And then number two, to make sure that our style of play, that we're executing those plays with the right mentality and the right mindset. There's certainly fundamentals involved in both of those areas, but knowing what to do and how to do it, that's really what we're focusing on this spring.
Now, it didn't seem like he said a lot there, Kennington, but he said systems, and schemes. And then he said, if you really paid attention, he's saying a lot more than what he said. When you hear that, what's your first thoughts about this particular offensive staff and what they're bringing to Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, really, like you said, he said very little, and I guess the volume of words, but he said a lot in terms of what he was really trying to get at. I think it shouldn't be understated that they got 3 practices in before spring break. I think that says a lot because, typically under Saban, from my understanding, was they have 1 practice, then they go on spring break, and then they have the rest afterwards. But to be able to have 3 practices to install things and kind of have it fresh on their mind that they're able to hit the ground running in a better capacity coming back, I think was really big. And I'm going to go to the other side of the ball when you're talking about what they're doing offensively. Kane Womack was asked about the inexperience at defensive back, and he said, I've worked with DeBoer, I've worked with Nick Sheridan. He said, I can't imagine anybody else in the country that installing an offense at a more aggressive rate than what our offense does. So we're talking about complex schemes, a lot of, different type of looks, a lot of terminology. It's going to be an offense that probably is a little bit difficult to learn at the beginning because they're going to throw a lot at them. But if you're an opposing defense, that's going to give you quite a headache because there's going to be so much to prepare for on the other side. So should be, pretty exciting if you think about it from a fan perspective of the diversity and the creativity that this offense can have versus the one from a year ago.
When you hear the term style and schemes and then systems, let that sink in. I mean, most teams have a system and that's it. And people don't understand, like DeBoer and this entire staff has said over and over, Kennington, we're adaptable, we're flexible, we go with our scheme. And I wrote an article, a blog last week about DeBoer having coached at small schools, Kennington, where, he had to have a system where if he lost Jalen Milroe, he didn't have Austin Mack and Ty Simpson. He had to know, okay, if I lose the quarterback, I don't have another quarterback that can run this system because I can't recruit to that. But I do have some wide receivers that can catch the balls out in the flat and take it the whole distance. So I'm going to go to that style. Or I don't have the wide receivers, but I have 2 really good running backs. He's had to figure that out. Well, think about that ability to do that now with horses at every position. I mean, it has to pay huge dividends.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is somebody, creativity personified. And from my understanding, he's had different iterations of his offense throughout the different years that he's been at, from Sioux Falls to Fresno State to, finally at Washington. And they were able to do some pretty creative things with, Penix. I would encourage fans as much as the bandwidth allows to go back and watch as much Washington as last year, because they were doing a lot of creative things offensively. And I know a lot of things with receivers, but they had Roma Dunze in the backfield as big as he was second handoff. They had Penix doing design quarterback runs, and that's not a huge part of his game. So you think about what he'd be able to do with the caliber of athletes he has at Alabama. I mean, we're probably going to see things that we didn't even see when he was at Washington. So it's going to be, pretty exciting. And again, we're talking about implementing a lot of different things into the offense. It's going to weigh a lot on the players. That's why Sheridan said with Jalen Milroe, this kid is a special athlete, but we have a lot of work to do because they have, so many things that they want to install. There are so many things that they want to try to, maybe recorrect or rework from last year as well. So this offense is going to be, I think, really explosive and one of the most exciting in college football. And I think if you're from an offensive side of the ball, not only do you want to be able to install those things, but you want to make sure that the players are confident in what they're doing so they are able to kind of open up the playbook as much as I'm sure they want to.
You won't have much time to respond, but I have to get your response to the Caleb Odom comment here. And that, like I said, he said style, schemes, and system. All three of those are different elements of offensive play.
Just trying to, put him in a position to be successful early on in his career. He's a big kid. He's very athletic. He's very explosive. He's got a great frame. How his body grows and what he turns into being, when he's, 20, 21, 22 years old. I think time will tell. He certainly runs plenty good enough to play wide receiver. He runs very well. He's a big target. And so we just try to put him in a position early on, to try not to run into 275-pound people,
Yeah, and that's,
put him in a position so he can have success.
More, but I want your response
and I think,
to what Coach had to say there.
Yeah, Caleb Odom piece. Probably not surprising if you look at where he's at from a high school standpoint. If you look at his high school tape, he was a wide receiver, and I think he's going to give something to the Alabama receiving room that they just haven't had in a while. Really big, really tall receiver that's going to be able to go across the middle with short yardage and also be a red zone threat and be a contested catch maestro. So I like the move, and I think that's going to expand the offense. And they have a deep tight end room. So
yes, and he is definitely they probably got a first-round wide receiver, and I think Odom falls into that category. So Odunze. So we'll see if he's able to live up to that level of expectation. Once again, Kennington, tell them where they can find you, sir.
Yeah, X at skinnykenny_theathletic.com or The Athletic on your mobile app. Search Kennington Smith III or anything related to Alabama.
All right. Hey, thanks, guys, for being a part of the program. There's some definitely more to talk about with his first week as the coach at Alabama, talking about Kalen DeBoer. Kennington broke it down. We'll add DC to the conversation tomorrow to get his thoughts on it. I'd love to get you back here on tomorrow, so make sure you make plans to be back with us on tomorrow. I'm Martin Houston. That's Kennington Smith III. That's Justin Jones behind the glass, pressing all the right buttons. Remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding, always acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. Guys, I appreciate your support. Go check out the latest blog at martinhouston.org, or you can just go to the Facebook page and I'll post it there. Got another one coming in this week 1 review of the Kalen DeBoer era. That'll be up at some point tonight. So go check it out at Alabama Sports with Martin Houston on Facebook. Thanks. Roll Tide out there, everybody. Have a blessed, prosperous, and successful day.
To last throughout the years. So bring your good times and your laughter.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the
all the kids. I mean, certainly the quarterback, that's important. The leadership that position naturally has, and the impact they have on the rest of the roster and the team, I think, is super important. And obviously Jalen's presence on our